Hello everybody, we're here in Austin in Focus, broadcasting out of El Paso, Texas. And today's guest is a very special guy here in El Paso, Dr. Richard Rhodes, the head of one of the most dynamic colleges in the whole country. Dr. Rhodes, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Senator. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Well, I could brag about this guy all day long, but I want to talk about the students, the college, and where we're headed. And I want to talk about one of the initiatives that you've spearheaded, not just here, but all across the state and the country, and that's dual credit. Tell us how that works.
Dual credit is a unique program where students who are attending high school can take a class that is actually a college class, and they get credit for that one class for both towards college credit that goes on a transcript from El Paso Community College, but it also goes towards their high school graduation credits, and so that's why they call it dual credit. We made a move about 5 years ago to waive tuition because that's allowed by law thanks to the foresight of senators such as yourself and House members. We made the decision to waive credit, waive tuition for those credits that are taken in the high school. And so we ensure the quality, we ensure the rigor of these courses by making sure that the students who take these, number one, are college ready. And so in order to take a dual credit course, they have to have passed the Accuplacer test in that field or sequence, such as if they're going to take a math course, they have to have passed the college readiness placement test for math. Or if it's a history in reading, writing, and so forth. So they have to prove that they're college ready. Then they take this course, and once they complete the course, they have a transcript from us that shows that they have this college credit. And over the years, in the past 6 years, we've seen this program grow from about 60 to 70 students taking dual credit per year throughout El Paso to now we've got about 2,200 students per semester taking dual courses in our high schools, both public and private.
You know, we talked about this, I think, 8 years ago, and I said, you are onto something here, because parents are going to go absolutely crazy. They're going to love this program. My daughter just graduated from college, my son's in college, and when you get those bills, it's like you're going to pass out when you see how much money college is now running, and it's becoming a distant dream for so many families. And your initiative at identifying those courses, getting them into the high school time frame and making sure that kids get the rigor, they get the information, they get the knowledge that they need for a good job, but at the same time get credit and don't have to pay college tuition at the same time is a dream come true. I mean, it's from a parent standpoint, from a student standpoint, from a graduation rate standpoint, I think it's really an initiative that's going to take off around the country.
It is. You know, I have a certain passion for it, but it comes from a personal experience with one of my own kids. When we were living in Salt Lake City, before I moved back to Texas, moved back to El Paso, one of my daughters was in high school, needed to be challenged, needed the rigor, but needed the incentive to move forward aggressively in high school. And she was able to graduate from high school and receive her associate degree from Salt Lake Community College at the same time. And then when I came to El Paso, I thought, we have to have that same opportunity for kids in El Paso, and we've got to find a way to do that. And so through dual credit, that provides that opportunity. And it's one of the most amazing things, because when you talk to parents, and it just spreads like wildfire. When you talk to the parents, and they can see that if they were to take those same, let's say a student completes 24 credit hours by the time they graduate from high school, that's 1 year of college. They can already see that if they were to take those same credit hours at El Paso Community College and pay for them after they graduate from high school, we've just saved them in books, in tuition and fees, gas. We've probably saved them $2,500. To go to one of the universities, whether we're talking UTEP or New Mexico State, we've saved them probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000 to $8,000. And if they have to go out of town and they go to UT Austin or A&M or Tech or somewhere, you know, now you're talking upwards of $10,000 to $15,000 with living expenses. So I spoke at, a couple of years ago, I spoke at Cathedral High School senior banquet. And afterwards, I remember I had a line of parents coming up and saying, "Do you know how much your college saved our family? My son is going," for instance, he said, one of them said, "My son is going to Notre Dame, and he's taking with him 36 college credit hours.
Wow.
You just saved us $45,000.
You know, I'm speaking for myself, of course, but I'm going to say, for some of us, senior year was not the year of rigor. I don't want to say that we missed too many classes, but it really had become a year that many people, many students didn't take that seriously because there was no gain. And at the end of the day, if that year is valuable and what you're actually doing is doing college work, not only are you going to have a tremendous interest in learning, but you're going to save your family money. You're going to compress the time in getting a degree, and then you can do what you need to in terms of getting a good job. You know, based on your input and based on the great ideas that you were working on here, I filed that bill in the Senate. We got it passed on dual credit and launched the kind of dual credit revolution, which came from your great leadership. And I want to talk a little bit about these high school, college programs that you're actually starting on the campuses of individual community college locations, so students can go and be in an actual college environment when they do it.
This is one of the most exciting things happening today, I think, in education, is the early college high school concept. And it really engages students and gives students opportunities at younger ages. And now we're talking about 13 and 14-year-old kids who begin taking college courses when they're freshmen in high school. And again, the same standards, the same rigor. They must be able to prove that they're college ready, passing the AccuPlacer test or a college placement test.
When do they take the AccuPlacer?
They take it in the summer before school starts. And this is one of the neat things. Our first early college high school started just over 2 years ago in collaboration with Socorro Independent School District at our Mission Del Paso campus. And so it's called the Mission Early College High School. And we hired the world's greatest principal, Dr. Armando Aguirre. And he came up with the selection criteria on how to select students and then how to get them ready to take college level courses. But before we got into that, we received an investment from a corporation, actually a foundation. It was from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, gave us seed money to open up that very first early college high school. And because of that seed money, it gave us a year to plan and to make sure everything, the template was correct to get it started and make it successful. We hired, like I said, the greatest principal, Armando, and he came in with the criteria. And one of our concerns, you know, this is collaboration with one school district. One of our concerns was, would we have 100 students coming out of the 8th grade, knowing that there wouldn't be any athletics, no sports, that it's going to be very rigorous high school setting. They're going to have to study very, very hard. Would we have 100 kids interested in submitting an application for that school? We had 400 kids.
First one in the county.
First one. And we had to narrow it because, you know, with Gates funding, they would only allow for about 100 students. We increased it to 125 for that first cohort. And those students, I can tell you, have just far exceeded our highest expectations. But part of the selection criteria, and this is important, is that the students had to write an essay stating why they wanted to be in this type of a setting. Rigorous academic environment. Their parents had to write a letter of support, understanding that yes, this is going to be very rigorous. I understand there's no football, basketball. I understand my son or daughter is going to have to study a lot, and they're probably going to complain about it during the year, but I'm going to support it. And then academically, the only standards were they had to have passed their 8th grade tax test. Didn't matter what their score was, but they had to pass it. And the other criteria in order to get Gates funding was that we couldn't take only the A+ students. We needed to ensure that we had a cross-section of students, so some A, B, and C students. And I can tell you, based on that first cohort, the second cohort at that school, the first cohort at Isleta, at our Valle Verde Early College High School, about 90% of the students are economically underprivileged. About 90% of the students are Hispanic, and about 70 to 75% of those students are first-generation college-going students.
You know, I hope the parents that are watching this, and I hope there's some students watching it too, will pick up the phone and get going on this stuff. You don't have to go to the early college setting. We urge you to do it because it's such a dynamic place. But you can do it with qualified courses in the school district,
Yes.
AP and others. But you come out under this dual credit with college credit already
Right.
paid for.
Right.
And so parents looking at this got to be thinking, this is the greatest thing going.
Right.
So I hope they'll take an opportunity to give a call to the community college or their school district and say, how do I get involved? Let's now go to the community college itself. When you look at the story of this amazing institution, and you look at the growth of students from the 80s on, this is one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing community college in the country, with emerging programs of excellence that I think our listeners should hear about in IT, healthcare, etc. Can you talk a little bit about the direction of the community college in the last few years?
Okay, it's been an exciting time to be in community colleges because I think today in the state of Texas, over 75% of entering freshmen are attending community colleges, and the programs that we're really seeing high needs for in the community that we serve are healthcare programs. Number one. Whether we're talking about nursing or dental hygiene or sonography, whatever the programs are, anything in healthcare is a tremendous program of which students get jobs immediately. I mean, they don't have to worry about getting jobs and staying in El Paso. They're there. And of the nurses who graduate from El Paso Community College, 99% stay right here in El Paso and work in our hospitals. So healthcare, education, teacher education. You know, we have such a need for additional teachers in our school districts here that we've got to produce more teachers coming out of our higher education systems, and that's critical. And we have a new associate degree in teacher education, and we've worked very closely with UTEP to make sure that credit hours transfer and that we have good articulation in our programs between University of Texas, El Paso Community College, Texas Tech, all of our sister institutions. Work really hard at that because it's not fair to the students if you don't have a good pathway for those credits to transfer. Another area that's I'm very proud of is a culinary arts program. 6 years ago, I think we had somewhere less than 20 students in culinary arts. Today, we've got over 200 students in culinary arts program here at El Paso Community College, and we've got a waiting list waiting to get in. So we're going to build some additional facility space for them here at the Administrative Service Center and allow that program to expand even greater.
Do they have a sampling room where
they do,
come by?
They do, and I'm going to take you over there. Technology. We have a great program called Students in Technology Services, where we actually hire our students, and they will work side by side with our professionals in technology. We've had some working in the studio, matter of fact, here, but working, whether it's in programming or networking, working side by side with professionals and gaining that experience. And then some of the students become managers and they manage the other students. So not only do they get the experience in the technology, but they get some managerial experience.
Well, I want to first recognize and thank you for this new value and leadership. I'm looking at these issues from the standpoint of the family and the students, because ultimately we're all here to try and make sure we have the best education system in the world, that students can access it, that it's affordable, and at the end of the day, they get the jobs that will maintain American prosperity. So looking at it from the student's point of view, making sure that we can get dual credit, that college is affordable, that the institutions share data and qualify the dual credits, say transfer credits, I think is really important from our standpoint in the legislature and also what families look at. I want to talk now about some of the exciting initiatives that are coming. The Medical Center of the Americas is one, but Fort Bliss. We had a hearing at your campus about 2 weeks ago to look at the impacts and what we need to start preparing for. And certainly one of the impacts of this tremendous change that's happening in El Paso is education dynamics for troops dependents, and the community at large. This is going to be another opportunity for folks that live near the Fort Bliss campus. Can you tell us about your plans for that?
I'd love to. We have made an application through the Department of Army, through the Department of Defense, requesting about 70 acres on Fort Bliss to build out a higher education learning complex that would serve the needs of soldiers and their dependents who are stationed at Fort Bliss. You know, with 30,000 new troops plus their families coming into El Paso, many of whom have no more than a high school diploma. There's going to be a great demand and a great need to provide the services for these soldiers and their dependents to increase their educational capacity. So we have requested 70 acres. The plan is to build a higher education learning complex there that would include El Paso Community College and UTEP, to provide a pathway for students, for the soldiers and their families to progress and get those credits, and to be right there with them on Fort Bliss. The piece of land that we have identified in working with Fort Bliss over the past couple of years is just off of Montana, adjacent to the desal plant, where if you were to take Lee Trevino and go straight across Montana into Fort Bliss property, that's basically the location that we've identified.
Fantastic. You know, a bunch of us yesterday went down to San Antonio and tried to take a look at what San Antonio's done over the years. They're a great military community. They've done some programs exceptionally well. Some we're doing better than San Antonio, frankly. But we looked at the collaboration across institutions focused on some of these outcomes for troops. And one of the things they said was that at Brooks Army Medical, at Fort Sam Houston, where they have maybe a third as many troops as we're going to have, the number one issue for military family dependents is we want to get an education. While our husband or our wife is off fighting wars, we have an opportunity. We want to take care of the kids, obviously, with good school, early education especially, but let's go get a degree ourselves. So I think the timing on this is fantastic. Who would be the other partners on the higher education campus? And give us an idea what that looks like to a student walking on the campus 5 years from now when they get on the Fort Bliss Community College campus.
We want to have the ability for basically probably three different things. Number one is for them to come on campus and get an associate degree immediately, knowing that those credits are going to transfer. Also to have UTEP with a presence on that campus, a facility presence on that campus, so that students don't have to worry about then leaving Fort Bliss and going to UTEP, but being able to continue right there at Fort Bliss towards a baccalaureate degree or even a master's degree. But also to ensure that students, whether they're in the middle of their associate degree program or working towards their baccalaureate, is to provide distance education, web-based deliverables and programs, so that students, if they do get transferred, if they do have to go to Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever, that they will have the ability to continue coursework through the internet, through web-based delivery.
You know, they were talking about that in San Antonio yesterday and saying young soldier went off to Afghanistan or Iraq and got a bill from the college to say, well, you weren't here to take your courses, and so we have to charge you because you enrolled, we can't give you your money back. And the troops were asking, what can we do about that? So this innovative solution is exactly what the troops are asking about. And one of the things that they made a part of their thinking was to do focus groups to ask the consumers, you're the troops, you're the dependent, what is it that you need to work in your lives, and what's going on here? You're thinking about these campuses where we can reduce the time of travel.
Right.
I mean, let's face it, we're going to a time when gas is going to be scarce, the cost of transportation by mode's going up. So to the degree that we can make it convenient for the consumers to get all these things in one place and be in one-stop shop, I think it's going to be the future. And at some point, that's going to involve a web strategy, and you've been way out front on distance learning for a long time.
Well, appreciate it. We've got some great people here, some great faculty and staff who really work hard at trying to make sure that we're staying ahead of the curve, that we're looking to the future and what the needs are. Matter of fact, I'll tell you, I just had a meeting with my vice presidents this morning, and we started talking about, we just read an article recently about Web 2.0 and the way that the younger generation, the millennium generation of today, how they communicate, whether it's in the workplace or in schools. And it's a whole new way of communication in how they use information, whether it's wikis or podcasts, or however they're receiving information. It's not just internet-based anymore. There's such a plethora of new ideas of ways of communicating, getting information, that we just have to, in education, we owe it to every generation to make sure that we stay up and try to stay ahead.
You know, in politics, you got to learn it or you die. Because every generation, the tools that you use to communicate with those that you're seeking to get their vote change. And
Exactly.
so some of these colleagues of mine in the Senate haven't had an election in 10 years. I said, guys, you are in for a big, big change, because some of them have never even put up websites. And I've said it's way past websites now. You're talking about podcasts, you're talking about YouTube, you're talking about texting and so forth, and the ability to deliver messages quickly. And I can guarantee you, the young opponent that you're having that's coming forward in the system, the political system, knows how to use those, knows the value of them, and knows where it's going. So in politics, boy, that frontier is today. And you see that in the national elections that are going on now as they jockey for positions. One of the things I wanted to visit with you on is one of my favorite topics, which is as we emerge, as we rebrand El Paso, and we go from a community that's frankly been low wages, and we're going to emerge into a higher wage benefit environment where we're going after the knowledge-based jobs of the 21st century. We've laid out this vision around a medical center of the Americas and a health campus based on health education, health research, and health service. And what you see is the role of the community college in that emerging medical center of the Americas vision, because frankly, I think it, along with the future combat systems, what's happening at Fort Bliss, what we're doing with Mexico and design manufacturing, some of the emerging fields there, where we're headed in transportation, that's the future of this great community. And I want to talk about the Medical Center of the Americas and what you see rolling out there.
Okay, basically a twofold plan from El Paso Community College. Number one, we would like very much to move our nursing program off of the Rio Grande campus into the Medical Center of the Americas. For a couple of reasons. Number one, I think it's what's best for the students is to put them in proximity with Thomas Hospital and Texas Tech.
And the new Children's Hospital.
And the new Children's Hospital. Shared collaboration of facilities. You know, Texas Tech has wonderful facilities that aren't going to be used 100% of the time, all day long. And so when we talk about the use of simulation labs, or we talk about you know, their biology labs, chemistry labs, the sharing of facilities and space saves the taxpayers a lot of money. And it's good for our students to have that access and to be able to have a dialogue with not only our nursing faculty, but also with Texas Tech faculty, Thomas and nurses and doctors. And so to put a good proximity there to save money, but to have that dialogue and that communication. And it's great for our faculty to be able to communicate and learn and upgrade their skills and exchange and see what's going on in research at Texas Tech. And just that exchange of information makes the learning environment within the classroom at EPCC so much higher.
You know, I think when you go to the public, and I'm out there all the time, and whether folks come to me in a restaurant and say, Senator, I want to talk to you about this, or I'm at the grocery store looking at what the tomatoes are costing today, and they're talking to me, they're bringing a couple of points. And the first is, we don't care who's providing these services. We want to make sure they're quality, and they're effective, and they're cost effective. And the second thing they're saying is, we want our community to move forward. We don't want to get left behind. We want to make the community move forward and be a 21st century community. I hear that over and over again. And so these shared service campuses really are the wave of the future. And one of the drivers now is energy. If you can come on a campus and you can do your community college rotation here, you can help with research over here, and you can end up doing your practicums over here, and then there's a library, you don't have to go to 4 different places. You're in a learning environment that's at one place. And I just want to congratulate you for being part of that vision, because I really think that's going to be one of the drivers, one of the change agents of El Paso in the future, is this medical campus. When you go back and look at Houston, Houston didn't have any medical center in 1948. And what happened is a few community leaders walked over to Dallas and said, what would it take to move Baylor medicine from here down to Houston? And they did it. They grabbed a whole medical school, and the city of Dallas looked around and said, hey, wait a minute. And they took it, and it became the nucleus of what became maybe the world's best known medical campus now. And those guys in Houston get me to go down there once a quarter. I asked, how many people are showing up to work here every day? 80,000 people go to work at the Houston Medical Center. So we're on to something here. We're in a niche no one else is doing, which is Hispanic medicine. So I think this thing really taken off.
It is.
You know, we're about to the last of our time. I wish we could stay and talk another hour, because this is really one of the nation's most innovative educators. But Dr. Rhodes, I want to thank you for what you've done in this community. I want you to thank you for what you're doing right now, and I look forward to working with you this next session to make great things happen right here in El Paso and the great state of Texas.
Well, thank you, Senator, and I want to thank you on behalf of higher education, and especially El Paso Community College, for your strong support, your unwavering support of higher education, and your passion for El Paso specifically.
Well, we'll continue to do it, and our best days are ahead. Thank you all so much for coming, and until next time, this has been Austin in Focus. Thank you again.